Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Chrissie Mayr podcast. We are on iTunes, YouTube, Spotify, and SoundCloud. And if you're listening to us right now on iTunes, please go and leave a 5-star review. For example, here's a really great review from Buddy C. Buddy. The review is called Chrissie Rocks. Can't wait to see you live. Well, Buddy, I'm doing a lot of shows actually. So tweet at me, Instagram me, let me know what city you live in, and perhaps I am performing in a city near you. And if I'm not, I would like to make that happen. Yes, this episode is brought to you by Lucy Nicotine. Dun, dun, dun. Time to give up your cigarettes, guys. I don't know if you have come to this conclusion on your own or you just need me to tell you, but Lucy Nicotine is a company founded by Caltech scientists and former smokers looking for a better and cleaner nicotine alternative. Finally, tobacco alternatives that don't suck. These products were researched and developed for 3 years to be made for people, not patients. Lucy has created a nicotine gum with 4 milligrams of nicotine that comes in wintergreen, cinnamon, pomegranate, all delicious. I've tasted them all, and in fact, I just moved, or else I'd be chewing on one right now. They're in a box somewhere. Each and every flavor tastes great. They're convenient, discreet. These products can be enjoyed on the go, at work, on flights, all that. It's 2020. It's 2020. This is an old read. It's 2021. Even more of a reason to ditch the cigarettes, unplug your vape, throw out your dip, and get you some Lucy nicotine gum or lozenges. A subscription to Lucy comes directly to your door each month. It's so simple. You don't have to leave your house. Lucy has delivery down. And for all my CMP listeners, go to lucy.co, use the promo code CMP. You're going to get 20% off all products, including gum or lozenges. That's lucy.co. Use the promo code CMP at checkout. Also, I have to make this disclaimer. Warning, this product contains nicotine derived from tobacco. Nicotine is an addictive chemical. You know what else is addictive? Savings. That's right. All you guys just listening on the audio missed my sweet wink at the camera. So go to lucy.co. Use that promo code CMP, baby. Got a couple dates coming up. We had really great shows with Comedians of the Compound in Royersford, Pennsylvania, and myself. I headlined the Stress Factory this past Sunday. Amazing. Thank you so much to everybody who came out. I met a lot of great new fans. Florida people, I'm heading towards your general direction. May 30th, I'm going to do the Boca Black Box in Boca Raton. May 1st, the Lake Parks Black Box Theater in Palm Beach, 5-2, Side Splitters in Tampa. My Wisconsin peeps, I'm coming to the Skyline in Appleton, May 7th and 8th. Oklahoma City, May 9th. That's the Bricktown Comedy Club. And then if you guys missed the last Comedians of the Compound and you're in Texas, we're coming to you in Austin, May 14th and 15th. Zanies in Nashville, I'll be there May 18th, May 19th, Stand Up Live in Huntsville, Alabama, and then Hilarities in Cleveland, June 3rd. It's hard to think about June, but we're already in March, man. This is great. Anyway, episode is also brought to you by Cushy Dreams. How could I forget? My number one all-time favorite producer of CBD products. Guys, I used to be a person who smoked like weed pretty regularly. And I found I just was getting nothing done. And then I actually discovered Cushy Dreams through like another podcast. And I like tried some of their stuff out and I really fell in love because they relaxed my mind and my body, but without going out to lunch. I could still get things done. I could still like have a day, you know? And they basically do pre-roll joints, and they also have bud that they sell in like these vacuum sealed little tins. I really like the joints because I just have a couple like pulls and I feel great. But if you're like a bowl person or you want to smoke out of an apple, if you're old school like that, you can totally still do that. 100%. It's grown here in the USA, lab tested for compliance. Discreet packaging, which I love, and they're really obsessed with compliance and purity. They have all of their lab results on their website, cushydreams.com. Best of all, like they have tons of different strains. If you're an indica person, if you're a sativa person, they got you. They have these different blends, and they have fun little names like Relax, Dream, Energy, Hustle, Create. So go onto the cushydreams.com website right now. Use the promo code CMP. You're going to get 20% off your whole order plus free shipping. Yes, it's good. It makes you relax. I like it. I'm a fan. what the hell do I know? I'm so excited to have this gal on the podcast today. I have known her for years. I feel I would go as far to say is that I would consider her a friend. She is one of these comedy peeps that I feel like I sort of came up with. So there's that extra special bond there too. She's a stand-up comedian. She's a healer. She's the host of the Invasion of Privacy podcast. And her comedy album, 1111, is available for purchase right this very moment, every place where albums are sold. And she'll tell us all about it. Hey, Wolff.
Hi, Chrissie. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for doing it. And thank you for coordinating your poster with the colors of my set.
I love it. We both have the blues and purples going on.
Yeah, it's like it's kind of mystical and spooky looking. Although I've tried the other colors and I can't do like yellow and orange because obvious reasons. How are you, Kate?
I'm all right. I'm excited to continue to be a comedian and put all sorts of stuff out there. For me, I've been doing less in-person shows. So I've been kind of taking it. I've been learning green screen a bit. So I'm good. I'm just trying to be an artist and create and as freely as possible.
It's like hard. It's like the last year has definitely been like a test for everybody. Like it's sometimes it's nice to be turned upside down because you explore other parts of yourself. But what I've always really loved about you, Kate, and like they say, you can't just do stand-up comedy. It's got to be comedy and something else. You have to find a niche. You have to find like, something else. And you have always been about comedy and spirituality. I remember you had a show at New York Comedy Club called like Dragon Sorcery, and you would have people come up and you'd pull and you'd read tarot for them, and you would also like be hilarious. And I think that's really cool because I haven't seen anybody do it. If they are, they're not doing it like you are. And you're just kind of like, you're so multi-talented. I also at one point went to So yeah, I'll stay on that. Do you plan on picking up those Dragon Sorcery shows, once things open up in New York, and also talk a little bit about how you came to do such a show?
I certainly hope so. I'm excited to see what happens as things fully open back up. I put on pause certain things as there were traumas that were coming up, really hard ones in my system. So I kind of stepped away a bit from producing my own shows. Like I was doing a comedy seance with two amazing people, Jess Grippo, Allison Charles. And then one of them moved, and I don't know, like I just put on pause for a sec those shows, but I do plan on hopefully bringing them back, as well as whatever else it could be turned into. Like you're another artist. I think just being creative and finding what channels are available to you for me, it's like to keep me alive. If I wasn't expressing, I'd be so pent up. And I'm grateful that I found comedy, and then also that I had a crazy spiritual awakening 2 years into starting comedy.
Really? How did I not know this? Maybe you've told me and I've forgotten.
I mean, maybe it's the story kind of my biggest awakening. Like I was starting to wake up that there was more to this reality than just the physical. There was a crazy car accident. My son and I were in the car, and my car was totaled. And after that, we were fine somehow. And then after that accident, I was experiencing things from the other side, seeing energy, colors, hearing things. And I was like, am I going crazy? What the fuck is this? And then trying to bring that to the stage as a comedian. I was already a comedian. Oh, are you there? Uh-oh. We lost Chrissie for a second. And I think, is it just me on right now? Oh no. Chrissie, come back. Come back. Chrissie, come back. First of all, I love Chrissie Mayr podcast icon. It's straight fucking fire. Hair, always on ultimate fleek. It's like an 80s, 90s, and 2021, like dream hair queen. Love it. Love the picture. They're probably going to edit all this out, but it says live. Okay. She says it went out. I'm coming back. I'm going to say, yay. Chrissie, come back. Come back.
I'm so sorry. I'm like, I have to buy a new Ethernet cord. Okay, I'll have to edit
Dude,
that.
I had fun. It said live still, so I just talked. Are we live?
You're so perfect. No, like we're not live. We're live in the sense that it's recording to StreamYard. But I think my Ethernet cord is hating me, and it's an old one, so I need to get a new. Anyway, crap. I'm gonna edit that part out. We were in
but you should listen to it, because I was like dissecting your. Yeah, I was like looking at your Chrissie Mayr podcast icon, and I was saying great fire. So you should at least listen to it, because I was like singing to you. I was like, Chrissie, come back.
Oh, all right, good. Maybe I'll leave that in. Shoot. Okay, so you're talking. You're like in the most deep sentence. You were talking about your spiritual awakening. It took an accident, car accident, which is so scary. Probably could have died from it, but it took that for you to realize like there's something beyond this.
I remember in that moment, as the car was like spiraling out of control, thinking, I don't want to die. Like, I have so much more to live, you know? And then boom, we hit the guardrail. But the crazy thing is, when we were spinning, I saw cars so close to me. Like, I thought we were toast. I thought, because it started spinning from the left lane and there were other cars. So wow. I thought for sure we were going to get hit by another car. And then when I felt the pound, I assumed it was another car, but we had gotten across to the guardrail. Like I said, the car was totaled, but my son and I were fine. And after it stopped, he did say angels were with us. And he at that time was way more in tune to the other side than me. Now he's a lot more cynical. He's like 14 and he's agnostic. So he's exploring for himself. And I think that's wonderful.
And so he was,
so I don't want to push it on him.
How old was he when the car accident happened?
I guess he was about 6, 7.
Wow.
Yeah. And then the accident happened. I started experiencing things from the other side, and I'm just worried I was going crazy. And thankfully, I worked at a production office, and there was a guy, Dan Fogler. He's like a well-known actor. He's in like the Harry Potter, what is it, Fantastic Beasts. He was like running a production company with another friend of mine together, and I knew he was kind of into this world, but I didn't know him very well. I remember being in the elevator with him going up, and I just looked at him and I was like, I was in an accident. I'm seeing energy. I think aliens are contacting me. Can you, any advice?
Yes.
Come into my office. And he like sat me in his office, and he was like, aliens are real. Like he like already knew, you know what I mean? He just was down with that. And him and the other guy, Canzanero, actually put out a film, Don Peyote, kind of based on some out there trippy consciousness, experiences. So he was like, no, you're not going crazy. These things are real. And then I met other people, amazing, people who had already been awakened or were awakened along with me. And eventually I trusted, I think I'm still in that process, but I started to really trust my abilities. And a lot of my trauma is thinking I'm crazy when I'm not, and doubting my reality, my intuition. So as I was awakening and these gifts were coming back, and even just memories of what made me hold back my power and my truth, it was all just kind of like a interesting, painful swirl. But eventually I was like, no, I can love myself, trust myself.
I'm just picturing a soft serve machine, and then like the two different flavors are like drama. Pain, awakening. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, it was a bad time.
When you say that you saw like, I don't know, not interdimensional beings, like I forget exactly like the phrasing you used, but when you were like, I feel the presence of something else, like what form did that take? Were it like was it lights? Was it like you think you're seeing things? You think you're hearing things?
Before I answer, I just want to say how much I appreciate you. You got to kind of shout me out in the beginning. I've always admired you. You're funny as fuck. You're a great comedian. You're a great person. You're artistic. And you came to one of my healing events.
Yes.
I don't know how many years ago.
It was
And
called Going Deep. I think it must have been
4 years ago,
could
3.
have been. Yeah, could have been like 3 or 4 years
And
ago.
it just meant a lot to me that for you to come there, and like it felt like you believed in me and the whole healing journey. And I don't know, I just felt very accepted by you, and I've just always enjoyed you as well. So I just want to say that, and I enjoyed your
Oh.
questions
And
because
now I'm also realizing, like, I am also sorry for not keeping in better touch with you over the last
oh,
year.
me
Like,
too.
it's like a reminder, like, oh, I've just dropped off like the face of the earth for so
I
many
did
people.
too. I think people, when they're going through whatever, I know I was in an evolutionary process. I kind of like when a cat wants to die alone under a bed. I kind of like, when I was
Aw.
going through some of my stuff, I kind of just like needed to be in isolation myself. So I get it. But yeah, I've always appreciated you. And in terms of the experiencing intergalactic beings slash enlightened aliens slash whatever we could call these beings, these creatures, um, for me, it started, and it's still an ongoing process as I honor and tap in deeper to my gifts. But back then, when I was first waking up, and I don't see this like this anymore unless I'm meditating, but it was showing up in the real world, not just in like third eye world, this purpley blue, like the colors with us. Yes, exactly. Actually,
Oh,
it
really
was
weird.
just showing up like as and I was like, oh my gosh. And I mean, near death experiences can do that. It shoots
Wow.
you awake. So I was seeing that. And in terms of the hearing, it was like a weird pull. It's almost like through my third eye. Like it was almost like another sense.
Hmm.
Yeah, it was like, because I wasn't necessarily hearing things. Um, but it was this deep intuition and this pull to go onto the internet and like Google my heart out. And not only was I looking up different alien species that they say exist, I was looking up metaphysics and quantum physics and the double slit experiment on YouTube, and just because I am a practical thinker and I wanted to make sure there was backing for what I was experiencing. And I did a lot of research. I met a lot of people who did even more research. I don't want to say even more, but they read a lot more books than I did. I'll say it like that.
Yeah.
I did a lot of research, but mine is a lot of internet digging. Some people can just go through books, and I admire that. But yeah, I just started through that third eye pull. I was interested in all of it. And then other things came through. I was reading the tarot, and I will give you a reading today. I was pulled to tarot. I think I might have already been semi-reading it when the accident happened. So I was already
Wow.
kind of getting into this stuff, but I didn't realize the magic that was actually here, and how deep the wounds are, the historical collective wounds that we're all in, and how much I had a part, and I'm sure you have a part in helping to heal certain really diseased collective beliefs.
So you mean like the wounds of humanity,
Yes.
like this goes across all like cultures, but just like humanities, I don't know, maybe collective fears. I mean, God,
Yes.
2020 was the year of collective fears,
Amen.
and just I think like learning to like slough a lot of that off, because I think a lot of these fears are like manufactured like by it's kind of the powers that be. So it's like learning like at the end of the day, you really have nothing to fear, but and it's so funny that you say that, because about like 6 months ago, I started getting like really curious about it. I ordered a ton of these books. I haven't read them all yet, but David Wilcock's Ascension Mysteries, Bringers of the Dawn, The Raw Material. Like I'm just ordering all these books. I'm like, it's the same thing. Like I know aliens are out there, but I was never curious to like read more into like the different species of them, and I
Yeah.
haven't like had any sightings or anything like that, but something about this year too, I was like, I am gonna meditate more. Like I've been saying it forever, but
Hell yeah.
I'm gonna do it. I'm still not doing it as much as I wanted to, but that's really neat. Like, so not only do you get called to like look deeper into these topics, but people are finding their way into your life who are guiding you through it. They know more about certain things. That's really cool.
Yeah. And then the journey just kept getting more beautiful and, in a sense, crazier as well. Like my journey led me, and my pain led me. It pulled me back to find my middle school best friend, who's now my boyfriend, like love of my life. But
Oh my
he was my
gosh.
middle school
Oh.
best friend in 7th and 8th grade. And I'd found out a couple years ago that an incident happened between him and his father that had him, he was put away in Norristown State Hospital for about 7, 8 years.
He
So
was, or the dad?
what?
He went to the hospital, or his dad went?
My boyfriend did.
Oh,
So
okay.
so what was interesting with the journey is, like, as I was healing certain traumas and blocks, I could feel this pull back to my middle school male best friend. I found out from a friend what had happened, and I had to just hear his voice. I had to know, is he okay? I kind of understood. We had shared with each other when we were young our backstories and what was happening in households. So I had a deeper insight into what had gone on. And I was led to find him, reconnect to him. I got him out of there. He's currently still in the process of being like fully free, but
Wow.
it that part of the journey, and just like how they say, like, you come home to yourself. And as I do so, these connections, even from like a young age, came back to life, like these life sustaining things. So it just, yeah, my spiritual journey continues to surprise me, and how much it's connected to even like my boyfriends and what he went through, and just even, yeah, childhood bonds that had been hurt or not
Huh.
healed, and they're still healing some of these things. But I'd never thought I'd be pulled back to my hometown, for my boy,
Yeah.
like for all of it. So it still continues to be a wild, eye-opening journey of what healing really is, and what love is, and bonds, and all
Yeah.
sorts of things. But yeah, it continues on.
You were saying, did I like hear this right? That like it almost sounded like your like current boyfriend was like somehow stuck in the hospital, or
Yeah. Yeah.
can you, and I feel like you don't want to like spill every bean on this, but like to the
Ask
extent
whatever you
like,
want, and I'll do
okay.
my best to answer it in a way that completely respects him and other people involved. I'm trying to be very careful about how I speak, but
Yeah.
ask any question you want, and I'll try to answer it as
What was
best
he in the
and
hospital
balanced as
for?
possible.
What was he in the hospital for?
So, okay, how can I say this as PC as possible?
Okay.
There was an incident with his father, a fight, and it left his dad with an injury that was bad or whatever. And yeah, for me, I felt I knew why the incident happened in the first place. Do you know what I mean? But yes, that incident happened, and somehow, through, I feel, fault in the legal system,
Hmm.
majorly,
Okay.
that my boyfriend got stuck in there. And the beautiful thing about him is he has so much compassion. Like, I'm the one that's like, let's burn it all down, and he's like, compassion, be anchored, like everyone's trying their best. And I found him at a point in my life where the anger was taking over me,
Oh, yeah.
and he helped have me find compassion, because I was like, if this man can find the compassion and the calmness and faith through all of this, I can as well. And he, yeah, so he continues to inspire me. But yeah, he had
Wow.
been stuck in there through certain evils. I don't use that word often, but yeah,
Yeah.
I'm just so grateful that, like, I was pulled so strongly to reconnect, and saved both of our lives. Like I helped get him out, but he helped get me out of this like inner prison that I couldn't explain. And I'm
Wow.
still working through it to free myself fully and be my truest self. But it's been a very interesting awakening, to say the least.
And that's kind of what it's all about, is like us, like we're here, like human beings are very, very special. We're here on this planet, like to, I think like, yeah, meet our fullest potential, but also like love and connect with each other like
Yes.
deeply. And I feel like it's our job to remove whatever blocks we have as individuals so that we can connect more deeply, like with ourselves, of course, and then other people. And I always think it's fascinating the ways in which like people come back into your life or you find other people. And I had a friend, John Paul Rice, he's been on the podcast a few times. He said, he had like, I don't think it's the exact same situation, but he was talking about like his, a lot of abuse from his dad growing up. He finally got himself to a place where he could like forgive him. And then he found like after that happened, he was able so much flowed into his life, positivity. So
Yeah.
it's like, and sometimes you want to be so mad kind of for someone else, but and that comes from a good place, a good protected place. But it's always good to like, healing is always good, and that is done. I like your kind of two-pronged approach of like, you're explain to me what a non-dual Kabbalistic healer is.
Sure. Well, I love non-duality, right? Non-duality is a way of thinking. To me, the yin yang symbol sums it up perfectly. The balance of light and dark to create life force, to create life. So like, and I think it also represents what love consists of, these two polar opposites that are also the same thing, right? They need each other to be a whole. So non-duality is realizing that there's not really right or wrong in the way we think there is. It's almost negative and positive, like in a battery. Negative not being
Energy.
worse, negative just being like concave,
So
So
taking away like the whatever the judgments on what you do and seeing kind of everything as energy.
yeah, and taking a really balanced perspective, knowing that these two opposing forces exist. So life isn't exactly as it seems, right? Like someone could be made to look like a bad guy who's really a quote unquote good guy, but who's to really say, right? It's our collective perspectives that create this narrative. So non-duality, though, it's a very healing way of approaching the world, is like, okay, you're this kind of a creature, whether you're a human, an animal, but what is your soul like? What are you composed of? Where, like, what's your intention? And I think non-duality takes in all of it. It's not just a quick judgmental, this is right, this is wrong. It's realizing everything is connected. So that's the non-duality part. The Kabbalistic part is based on the Kabbalistic tree of life, ancient Jewish mysticism. So I studied it in a program. I'm not associated with the program anymore, but I still honor the work and wisdom that I was taught, and know healings based on them through the program. So the tree of life is based on 10 sephirot, qualities of consciousness, what they say life is made of or consists of. So you get to know these 10 qualities intimately, as well as the pathways that connect them, the partsufim. And by swimming in these qualities and understanding what we're made of, you start to heal and put them back into relationship.
They're
So
called the 10 Sephirot.
Sephiro, yeah. I mean,
Sephiro.
it's
pronouncing it
translated
wrong.
from Hebrew, so when we try to say it, it's like a lot of us butcher it because we don't, it's Hebrew. So I say Sephiro, but it could be, it could be something different.
And I'm
But
trying to pull up like a chart, but a lot of it's in Hebrew. I was like trying to pull up a
really,
chart
I'll
so like
try
people could see what I'm talking about. But that's neat because I just want to see,
to send you.
the Kabbalah, Jewish mysticism. Okay, maybe I can post links to this afterwards. But that's neat. Can you like recall offhand like any of what the 10 I guess like 10 qualities or 10.
Oh, absolutely. And if you see right there,
There it is.
that's my kind of watercolory version of it. You know what? I can even move my chair so I can have it. I can like point to it and show everyone.
Okay, cool.
I'll be a little teachery.
Yes,
person.
you used to be an art teacher.
Yes.
And your whole house is like full of paintings and drawings and stuff. It's very cool.
Okay, let me see. Okay. Am I doing this right? Okay, so here is the tree of life, the Etz Chaim. So, for example, Keter is the highest. Oh, you can't even see it.
Okay, there we go. Yeah.
That's Keter. The way I'm looking at myself, it's mirror imaged. So it's like confusing thing. Okay. So Keter is crown. It's closest to the heavenly lights, whatever that source energy is that you would call God, goddess, the unknown, that big thing, So Keter is closest to that. And then we'll just go down. Malchut, the very bottom, is physical manifested reality. Ooh. It's known as the devil, but it's not what you think the devil is. It's just furthest from spirit, from Keter, which once again is closest to the heavenly lights. But the two that I'll go into the most, we can do Gevurah and Hesed. They're right here. Gevurah, Hesed.
Okay.
So Gevurah is like justice, boundaries, and structure, right? And then across from it, Hesed is like water, flow, mercy, compassion. So I think that's a perfect example of two things that are kind of opposites that need to be in relationship to each other. The structure, the justice, the fire of Gevurah, but balanced with the flow, the mercy, the compassion of Hesed. And I think that's just an example of how these qualities work. But when one's out of relationship, not just within us, but collectively, we get out of whack. So we are so out of whack in a lot of the areas of the tree, but Gevurah and Hesed are huge. How much mercy, how much compassion, how much flow, how much chaos when it's in the nega versus how much structure. Think of like the police is like when the police brutality is very nega Gevurah, in my opinion. Like the boundaries and the structure choking out a system. So that's how that would affect to like our life.
Okay. Interesting.
Sorry if I just nerded out too much.
No, you can nerd out. So and it also seems like the last year has been the year of like everybody going for each other's throats because if you don't agree on the exact same politics, if you have a different like idea of reality, I feel like a lot of us are living in two separate realities. It just seems
absolutely
there's so much disorientation, and I think a lot of this applies to what you were just talking about. Like it's all about like having a balance. So it's like I want to talk about. Oh, right. So I went to this going deep session with you that you ran, and I don't know if you run them all in this same way, but it was basically like there was a bunch of us. I don't know, maybe like 10 or so people, maybe a few less. We were all sitting in a room together in a circle, and you basically like led us through a meditation, and at one point we had to like draw what we were feeling, and I just like drew myself as like this mermaid. I think I still have the drawing somewhere. Like I can't ever bring myself to throw it out, and I was like, first of all these like all my artistic skills are coming back. I'm like, oh yeah, I used to like love to draw like all throughout growing up in college, and then you just you forget about your inner child sometimes. So I drew this like sick mermaid, and she was saying like, you are loved, go for it. And it was pretty cool. And like I don't really remember how we got there, but I just remember I left there like feeling so good and like all opened up and like exactly where I'm supposed to be. Because right, like if you're open, you can become a channel for whatever inspiration comes in, so that you can like create your art, express yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
I remember your mermaid, loved it. Was so happy that that's what came through for you to draw. We also had like colored pencils. It was really fun. It was really interesting. I feel like I definitely got to bond with you in a deeper way through you being there and kind of seeing into your soul, into the inner mermaid for sure, to say the least. You have a lot that you're working with, which we can get into when I get the cards out.
Ooh.
But but yeah, I really loved that you came to that and that you felt good afterwards, you know, because I there are certain spiritual people who call themselves spiritual, and it's hard to say who is and who isn't, but um to me spirituality is about kindness as well. You know what I mean? So it's like you can read as many books or you can memorize as many quotes as you want, but ultimately if you're
Memes,
not
right?
being, yeah, like if you're not being authentic and you're not being kind, then to me it's like I don't, okay, you're spiritual, but how do you really feel? What's your energy like? How open are you? And I know that my authenticity has even surprised myself. I didn't know I was going to have, you know, a tattoo
The
like this.
tats
It's
are
not
new,
finished.
Kate. Yes. How did the tats come to be?
Well, through the process of unraveling, and you know, I suddenly wanted a tattoo. As a Jewish girl growing up, you're not supposed to be tattooed. So I think,
Right. Because you won't, then
and
you won't be buried in a cemetery or something.
exactly. So it's a tattoo of Mother Earth. It's not supposed to be me, but like it's all filling in still. You can see like
It's beautiful.
up
Yeah.
here's a lot more, you know. So
Ooh.
I'll be getting it finished hopefully within the year. And yeah, but once again, like it surprised me in beautiful ways of like who I really am. And oh, I want a tattoo. Okay. Like I didn't certain things that came up my rapping that
Yeah.
surprised me that I had pushed down this desire probably pretty young. I think a lot of us do when we're little, whether it's like rapping or some kind of music, you're like, I want to test it. And then you're told you can, or that's silly, and you shut it down. So
No, Kate, you're white. You can't rap. Yeah, for those people, you're like, yes, you did hear correctly. She did put out a rap. I think it was called like the Pussy Rap or something like that. Like,
labia game.
yeah, labia game. And it was so funny. I remember like Karen Margolis, who's like a friend of ours, was in your music video as well. I think I knew who else was in it that I knew. Maybe
Candy.
Candy, Claire.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's like another like comedy person. And you were like on top of cars. Like it was a very cool looking music video. And it was just like so silly and fun. And I was like, yeah, why
Thank
not? Like
you. Yeah, that's
that's
the vibe that it was supposed to be. I was surprised how many people were offended by it. But people were offended when I left teaching to follow my dreams. Like, I think people get offended when you're testing the waters and they told themselves they're not allowed to. So I accidentally triggered a bunch of people just by trying to open something in myself and explore it. Um, so
how did you trigger people? Why were people offended that you put out a rap song?
I think one might have been the race issue for certain people.
You're like, hello, why does Eminem get to have all the fun?
Yeah, and it's like I'm not doing it disrespectfully. I'm very aware racism exists and I want it to end genuinely. You know, I love people of all
Right,
colors. Like you can't really be in the Manhattan comedy game and not. Like I
right.
love that it's such a
Just
diverse
because racism exists doesn't mean that you can't express yourself in a way that's like, I think that's the most, be like, well, rap is just for black people. To me, that's the most racist
yeah,
thought. So
yeah.
that's crazy. But
No, yeah. So there were certain people and they were operating through their own wounds, but that, you know, came at me hard for it. And it affected me, especially because I was going through a bunch of other stuff, you know. So but yeah, no, I love that's why I'm always surprised at what inspiration can come through. And I try my best. I was an art teacher for 10 years to give myself the freedom to explore and I'm always evolving. So it can change, like something that was really abrupt. Maybe I'll learn how to sometimes create things that don't create such a
yeah,
like outroar, because that's never my intention. I like pushing the envelope, as do you on stage,
of
which is why I like
course.
comedy. But I don't like some of the bullying I experienced in the Manhattan comedy community. I was
They're
kind of
all
surprised by it.
twats. So many of them are just garbage people and like they pretend to be all about unity. It's like I feel like it's a microcosm of like kind of the evangelical like cultural left right now. It's like they pretend to be all about unity and acceptance, but like once you're like going out, you're putting yourself out there or you're becoming more successful than them, basically like anything, and then they come after you and it's very like limiting, and you're like, oh, these people aren't your friends. Like this is their kind of, it's so sad to say. It's like the community is the one that you create through your own connections, just not just by what you do. There have been moments in my comedy career too where I'm like, just friends that I've had for years turn their back on me, like people that I've helped out for years, like they think that my politics are a certain way, and then they talk shit about me on Twitter, and it's like, oh, that's too bad, because like I probably would have helped you out at some point. Like, not that I'm anything huge, but like why go out of your way to be shitty? It's like I would never talk shit about any of these people, but it's okay. Like people show who they really are. Sorry, I'm making this about me.
No, I'm with it. I think part of our journey is seeing that and seeing people's true colors, and simply saying, okay, let me not navigate towards people who make me feel that I'm not good enough, or that I should be something, that I'm not. And I think that's
sorry, I'm trying to pull up your music video.
Oh my gosh. I think that's like the learning point in those things, is that, okay, we see the true colors. We know who's a real friend and who's just saying hi at a comedy club, right? Like, and you just learn how to love, but also protect your heart and who you want to gravitate towards. And that's what I've been slowly learning, I think, the last 3-4 years, is like, who do I feel safe around? Who makes me feel enlivened? It's all sorts of things. But I and some have surprised me. Some have really hurt. Oh, there I am.
I have to show this just because it's amazing. I'm just going to show a little bit of it.
Okay.
Yeah. The Wolff. You ready?
Karen's butt looking good.
Let's go. I like my dick fresh right out the hot oven. Come inside me. Let's start a cock coven. Let's get in there. I'll smell your armpit. Like that shit. That's my nasty.
It's like so fun. Yeah. This is your actual house.
This was my old house like 2 places ago.
Oh, okay. So this is where I was. I did your podcast years
I don't
ago.
live there anymore, but it was a cool place.
This is so fun. I mean, tell me this is no different to me than what Cardi B is doing. Come on.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, Cardi B has had a lot more practice with her flow. But for me, and James Manzello is the director, and he's an actor in there, and he's incredible. He's an artist. So like, I knew when he said yes to the project, he would make it look incredible, and he did. I love it. I still have trouble embracing it because of how much I was bullied for it.
Wow. See, that's like a very interesting nugget to me, because like I'm always really fascinated to explore the ways in which people like are censored by people that are supposed to be on their own team, like artists censoring other artists. It's like that. It's like, what? Like you would never dream.
For now. I'm going to start again.
You have to. I mean, like, do whatever you want, but like, don't let other people, because it's like, you would never dare, like, if someone, picked up painting or picked up poetry, you wouldn't dare waste your time, like, talking shit about what other people create. So I think people who do that are just like, they're afraid to, look inside themselves and get back to the thing that they want to get back to. Like, that's how I am with like art and stuff, Exactly. It makes me so mad, because you're the sweetest, nicest, most like generous of spirit, one of the nicest people like in comedy. So anyone who dislikes you or judges you is like, that's their issues showing.
Thank you. Yeah, it really hurt for a bit, and then I had to just love myself through it, which is the journey, right? It's like,
yeah, because that was created out of like love and light. So it's like, if you're going to find something negative in that, like, that's you, you're putting something on there that wasn't, with that intention.
Yeah.
I think you wrote this on your website that we all as people have a unique vibration and frequency that we are meant to express here on Earth. Amen. And part of what you do and part of your purpose is to help others break free from illusions that keep us feeling stuck. What are some examples of illusions that keep us feeling stuck, and how do people begin to work to break past those?
Love the question. Before I answer, I love that we both have similar. This is like my sports program.
Yes,
we're very similar
Oh, is it like seafoam green?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So your boobs are way nicer. Well, I'm not going to show mine.
No, you have great boobs. I
I'm
just
trying to
can't
be
see them.
professional.
Yeah. But okay. Back to the illusions that keep us stuck. We kind of talked about them a little bit before. It's these collective beliefs, right? Like you can't follow your dreams. Magic isn't real. So many of them. And we absorb them accidentally through our parents, our peers, coworkers, these fears and these things that are telling us we can't, and their defense mechanisms, they're trying to keep us safe, maybe from getting bullied or even physically hurt. But as we heal, we can say, no, I'm ready to dissolve / alchemize these hardened places that are telling me you'll never be good enough, or you'll never have your dream life, or whatever that delusion / illusion is. And what I've learned in a certain meditation is how to locate these hardened delusions and let them kind of sit in the light for a bit so they can start to alchemize and to just get distance from them, because those thought tornadoes can overtake us. So I think it's okay to say, okay, this thought tornado or this delusion's present and it's telling me these hateful, negative things, but they're just a belief system that's still floating around my system that got imprinted upon me somehow. And when you can get that distance and let it actually alchemize, you start to become free to really be who you are. And it's very challenging right now here in this collective to be your full self. There's so many judgments, so many zombie assholes.
That sounds like the name of your next hit single. Zombie assholes. Yeah.
Well, there are just so many people that think they have a right to tell you how to live, and it comes from their own pain.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I'm over it. It's like, you want to be a hater, or you want to judge me or talk shit about me or gossip. Like that's you, like I've learned how to untangle myself to first locate some of those toxic dynamics, and then really untangle myself and to feel safe and happy. And on the tree, it would be hood, sacred space for self, like to find that secret garden.
Of course, because like, what's easier to do? Make yourself vulnerable, confront your own demons, think about what you really want to do, and then have the balls to pursue it. What's easier, that or tell some white comedian who reads tarot cards that she can't rap? It's much easier to crap on somebody else. It's much easier to destroy than to build. So,
amen.
Yeah. I better see another rap out of you, Kate.
I will eventually when it comes through me. They were coming through me a lot at that time. Like I think all that suppressed, I could never rap, thing kind of burst out. I was nonstop writing them. And then I put out some, definitely got bullied by certain people. Other people really appreciated. But I just kind of stepped back from it for a bit. But when the inspiration comes, or maybe a certain collaboration, like the last song I put out called Fuck It Up was because a producer reached out to me who listened to my podcast and was like, I like what you're doing. I like that and he wasn't a full-time producer. He's a full-time lawyer who does producing on the side.
Ooh.
So he contacted me like, I want to open this up again for me, like what you do. We created a song. So I'm always down for collaborations and all sorts of fun. And not even just in rap or music. Like, it's like, all right, people that we bond with, that we connect with, let's create, let's make videos or do shows together or whatever it is. It's like, let's make this as fun as possible. And I think that's linked to our authenticity. We're supposed to have fun here. It's not supposed to be struggle and pain
and work and being an adult is not like you have to have
my life.
Yeah, I'm working. I have no joy. This is what being an adult is. Because, of course, that's not good. Of course, you're going to get depressed and jump off a table. Tell us about Invasion of Privacy, your podcast. You've been doing it for a couple years now. But yeah, tell the people what it's all about.
So I started Invasion of Privacy, I guess about like 6 years ago, maybe 7. It was right when like podcasts were becoming more popular. Joe Rogan already had his like exploded, but Stand Up New York Labs opened their thing, and I was one of the the first podcast to come out of there. And I had a co-host who has a big following, Joe Santagato. He is a YouTube star, and now, like, you know, it's all channeled to Instagram, Facebook, like, you know.
Right. All of it.
He and I ended up going our separate ways. I was really exploring deeply some of these other realms and places. And I'm not saying he doesn't explore, but we just were like not going in the same.
Grew apart.
So, and he's like got millions of followers. So he kind of started 2 other, maybe even 3 other podcasts. So then I took it on as my own and really got to combine comedy with spirituality. My boyfriend's my new co-host.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so when you come on, because I want to have you on soon, you'll be talking to me and CG. So he's been, I guess it's been like 2 months of he and I podcast together, and he brought a life back, like a light and a life force back, not just in me, but into the podcast. So I'm just so grateful that he said yes to be my co-host. Yeah. And so it's gone more into the comedy realm. Like, I think we will touch still on deeper elements when it goes there, but I know he was like, let's keep it light and funny, you know, and we try to do that for the most part, but we definitely have a lot of depth in there as well.
Is it a struggle that when you combine comedy with spirituality that things can get a little deep, a little dark, a little murky?
Of course. Yeah. And that's why taking it to the stage, like, there are now some more spiritual comedians that take it to the stage. But when I first, people were not doing that. So when I was in like Manhattan, going on stage to tourists, talking about enlightened aliens.
Oh, they're not ready for that.
Yeah. It was like, who is this crazy bitch?
Yeah. Like, I guess I won't open with that. I won't open with aliens. Yeah.
They're still, I think the good comedians though are willing to try out different things. Like, I've seen you explore on stage and try out new things and say things that other people would either not dare to say or even think of, you know, and I've loved watching that about you. So, yeah, it just kind of, my podcast kind of just naturally combined spirituality and comedy, because those are like my 2 big interests. Although I love dance, I love so much rapping.
Yeah, you do it all. I remember, like, I had and I think I started doing the show and I didn't realize that you had like the dragon sorcery show. And as I explain this, like, I hope it's not like too similar to what you were doing, but for a year I had I did a show with Samantha Bednarz at New York Comedy Club, and it was called like Zodiac Comedy, and like every month we had comedians that were born under that zodiac. Like, so in January we had like Capricorn, in February we had Aquarius, in March we had Aries, and it was interesting. And we would kind of intro, it was so fun. Like, we would intro people by their traits, you know, like you're known for being this, this, and this. And we would try to match it up with like how we really thought they were, or how their social media presence was. And it was really fun. Like, and it's just, a lot of people think astrology is bullshit, but it's fun to like, if someone says that to you, be like, oh, what's your sign? You're a Gemini. That's such a Gemini thing to say. Like, yeah, that's how I always cover myself. Like, if someone doesn't believe, and be like, oh yeah, that's a trait of your people. But I thought that was really fun, and a good way to combine kind of like the 2 things. But I don't think it's not easy, because maybe a lot of folks go to comedy or go to vices or distractions as a way to distance themselves from their inner thoughts and their vulnerabilities and the things they're trying to keep safe.
Yeah, I think that's why, to really sew them together appropriately, it has to be a delicate balance, because you're right. They're coming to a comedy club to escape certain thoughts, and then it could almost be like a spiritual invasion if you don't approach it correctly, which could be harmful, right? So if they come, they just want to laugh, they don't want to think about deep things, you're making them laugh, but then boom, you know, now we're talking about something deep. There's a way to do that with compassion, the hesed that we were talking about, like, and there's a way to do it that's too invasive. And I've had to learn, and I'm still learning, how to ride that balance. But you have to be kind, because you could really fuck up an audience member, which you don't want to do, because it becomes a half healing session, whether it's intentional or not, a half comedy show. And when I would run my shows that linked both, I take my healership very seriously. So I would make sure as best as I could that I wasn't harming anyone. Because some people would sit down and then they'd be like, wait, what? Dragon sorcery? We thought we were just coming to a normal comedy show. You know what I mean?
So like dick jokes. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, so you have to be, but that's also just being a Manhattan comedian too. Like,
being flexible.
Any comedian who's had to bark during SantaCon, like you never know who you're going to get in the audience.
Yeah.
You have to work with, you have to be so sharp to not let anything come at you, even verbally, that could be really, really heartbreaking.
Take you down.
Yeah.
You have to like protect yourself a little bit, but without becoming hardened. It's like, I feel like that's like the constant struggle of like anybody who's empathetic or an empath and who just feels a lot. You're like, okay, yes, this is a blessing, but you also, you don't want to have your feelings hurt all the time or feel like just sponging up everything. Have you ever had a moment where you had somebody on stage where they were like doing tarot or something where it was like during a show and they actually had like a healing moment or had like an aha moment?
There were definitely a lot of those. There was one though, it was me just doing a normal set at Stand Up New York, and my gifts were awakening abruptly. And there was an insensitive, weird moment of mine where I felt I got a psychic hit about a woman, and I said to her, "You are a good mother. Don't stop."
You just said that out of nowhere.
Started sobbing.
You got her.
And it I guess like she did need to hear it. And like later on, she got my info. Like she was like, "What was that?" She's like, "How'd you know that was what I was wearing?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh, Kate!" But like, it disrupted the whole comedy show, and it was a Stand Up New York regular comedy show. I had a 15-minute spot, So like, here this woman's crying. I had to like in 6 minutes, kind of like.
Wow.
Like, so who wants to laugh?
This is during a regular set, and out of nowhere, you just say to somebody like, "You're a good mother." Oh,
yeah. I might have had like had 30 seconds of, so I'm kind of psychic, blah, 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 blah.
You're like, okay.
But I learned there because like maybe she sees it still as a healing moment. For me, I was like, that is not the way to do it. So I've had to really get sensitive in how I open people up, or whatever you'd call that, deliver information and work with my gift. So it's always interesting. And a person has to trust you. I think a person like in my past, I think I get hits and just say it. And that once again is an invasion. Now I try to really feel into, is this person coming to me for a healing? Does this person want to hear this? And, not go past my boundaries or theirs.
Wow. That's really interesting. Do you feel like there are a lot of like, I think we touched a little bit on this earlier, but like healers or spiritual people like on the scene or in like the social media world that are just like full of shit and they're there to take your money and they have no skill. And it's like, well, you have a pretty Instagram, so, and lots of followers, so they must be legit.
I think you have to really feel into people's energies. Like, there are certain people's like spiritual reels that pop up on Instagram, and I can just look like their face even will, if it elicits fear, like even the way they're looking at the camera freaks me out. Like, and they could have so many followers, but I get a hit from their energy, and doesn't mean that they're fake, but for me, it's like, whoo, keep me away from that. Yeah. So no, there are definitely a bunch of those. And then there are a ton that are enlightened and they feel light, and it's a joy to listen to them, be around them. So you just have to be as cautious navigating that world as you would be any other. And you and I've also, even just in Manhattan comedy, in the same way, I had to learn who I can gravitate towards safely, who I really need to take space from, who feeds my creativity and who hinders it. So even, I think in all areas of life, we just have to learn to heal enough so our sensors can be open. And that our sensitivities aren't a bad thing. It's helping us really navigate where we're supposed to go.
So whether it's in person or like online, like, it's not about how somebody looks or how many followers. It's like really, really try to feel like how this person makes you feel, or
Yeah.
because I guess a lot of us do have that ability. We just have to, spend time on it and tap into it. Interesting. I want to make sure I talked about. Oh yeah, you're recording a new album this year.
Hopefully. I mean, it was supposed to be last year, and I think it's going to be at Soul Joel's. That's what we're talking about. I live in the area.
That place is great. That tent.
Yeah, I've worked with him for a while. He's great, and it's like 40 minutes from where I live. So the album's called Superpowers. It's been titled that for a bit, so I'm excited to see how it all falls into place. Because with the title like that, it better all fall into place.
It better come with a cape. Yeah,
exactly. So I'm excited to record it. I'm thinking maybe May or June.
Awesome.
I didn't really want to do it outside, but I will if the acoustics are good enough. So we'll see. But I'm excited. I'm excited for that. And then do you want me to get my tarot cards for you?
Ooh, okay. Yes.
Give you a quick reading?
A little quickie.
Okay.
Yeah. Soul Joel's was great. We were there on last Friday for Communions of the Compound, and it's huge, and like it can fit so many people, and they have so many like heating lamps, so it doesn't really feel like there's not like wind gusts coming in.
Okay.
So
yeah, I'll pick a date soon. I'm excited to get back on stage, and I'll have so much new stuff to talk about. So I'm gonna just do 3 cards for you.
Okay, a quickie.
And your first one is King of Cups, which makes a lot of sense. I'm trying to okay, there we go. Cups are deeply intuitive feeling. What we were kind of talking about, that sensitivity, think mermaid energy, cups, water.
Oh yeah.
It's that deeply feeling in tuned being. And I love the king energy of it. It's like putting on your crown, CEO energy. Like, I don't care if you find me attractive or not. I know I'm attractive. I know I'm creative. And like sitting on your throne with honoring that male energy as long as you're as well as your female energy. And just saying like, I'm not ashamed to be who I am. I'm feeling, I know what's going on. I can go deep into those emotional waters. I'm not scared. Just kind of owning it.
Boss energy. Yeah.
Yes. 9 of Pentacles, along with, once again, really owning your successes, how far you've already come. You are resilient. You are a survivor. Allow yourself to really stand proudly in your garden. Like, look what I can create. Look what I can manifest. Feel good about your accomplishments.
What is a pentacle?
Pentacle represents the physical manifested reality, kind of like Malhut, that lower sacro.
It's not a tentacle. It's not. It's just
no.
Okay.
Pentacle, physical manifested reality.
Cool.
And it kind of looks like the pentagram, like the witches thing. Because they try to tamper with certain physical elements. I do not. I'm a sorceress. I'm not a witch. I'm a sorceress.
What's the difference?
For me, I don't try to tamper with the what isness. I try to swim with it and co-create with it. I'm a fan of learning how to open my vessel to receive the heavenly lights.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean I'm inactive, but I like to flow with the river of life. Witchery can sometimes try to influence the element.
Trick people, right? Like, I've never liked the witch thing. I mean, there's a big like witch scene on Instagram, and it's like, I don't like the idea of like, I need to cast a spell to get somebody to like me. Like,
yeah. Now some witches might say that's not what they do. And if it's more paganism, honoring the earth and doing sacred rituals of like to the moon, then I have no issue with that. It's what we're talking about, trying to influence elements. It's not how I operate. And then we'll do your last card, 4 of Wands. This is it's not exactly your happily ever after. It's the balancing within making you feel good. Happily ever after almost gives a sense of a destination. This is about you always being able to feel balanced and in your truest happiness and authenticity. And there's something about your masculine and feminine energies really learning how to dance with each other. And knowing that you are a goddess, you are a woman, so you don't have to worry about putting that off. You know what I mean? Like, you can just be who you are and like not worry. You know, we talked about delusions. there's this hidden thing in a lot of women that's like a little bit 50s mentality still. And it's okay to have a lot of the positives of that. But when it starts to be like, oh, don't come off as unappealing, you know, then it starts.
Yeah, I struggle with that. Yeah,
Yeah,
like not the balance between like being a nag and expressing yourself, asking for things, but not being too like demandy. I've always struggled with that.
exactly. And the journey here is learning to love yourself enough that and balance those energies where you can just be who you are, see then where you magnetize to, and you know, it's the law of attraction. When I'm myself, what do I manifest? What's my world then when I'm more and more me? And it's beautiful to witness what can happen when we start to safely speak our truth and live our truth, which is the purpose, right? Being our truest vibration. You kind of read that from my site. It's like we have this unique soul song that's ever evolving and changing in a sense, but we all really want the freedom to express who and what we are. And we are multifaceted, multidimensional creatures that go far beyond what our mind can actually comprehend. So just allowing yourself to be and swim with the river and know that life doesn't have to be suffering. It really doesn't. That's another delusion that's huge. And it doesn't have to be suffering. And I'm still currently learning how to work with my own suffering and what the moves are to get them to alchemize.
And if someone's listening to this and they're like, I don't even know where to begin, this sounds like a lot of new agey, like bullshitty type talk. Like, if someone's feeling like they're hard and they're in a crust of their routine or whatever, I always think like a good way to begin to, like, you're the little baby chick beginning to crack out of that is like, really, whether it's like a week or something, or I think a week is a good place to start. Like, okay, every single day I'm going to do something I just love. I've always wanted to do, like actively seek out like activities that like give you joy. And it's like, if it's going back, listening to music, or like I'm going to draw and paint today, or I'm going to just take a bath, or I'm going to like just, you know, really give yourself that. And I think the more time you spend in joy is like you begin to crack that open. And then that's when like creativity flows in, ideas flow in. And I think, and it leads, I'm saying this really like not eloquently, but
No,
I always think of like the person listening who has like no clue where to start, and can write this off as like BS.
That's a beautiful place to start. I think that is the place to start. What makes you happy? Following your highest excitement, you know, following your joy, and really intimately listening to what those urges are telling you. Even if it's something like, I want to draw for 10 minutes, or I want to write a poem, or, you know, or I want to go and get a massage, or I want a milkshake. There's so many little things that, you know, and it's learning to listen to those urges. And then we get to decide, do I want to follow it? Do I not want to? But getting to know yourself, and then, like what makes you happy in a passionate, safe way, you know, because I say that and I think of the murderer that's like, well, I want a murder to be happy. Well, that's a whole other conversation.
And it's looking like sometimes you have to flip over the stone. Sometimes if you're getting an urge like, well, I want to cheat on my wife, it's like, no, look under that. Like, what are you really lacking? Is it affection?
Yes.
Is it like touch? Is it appreciation?
Yes, exactly.
Sometimes if the thing you want right away is going to like fuck up your life, like look deeper into yourself and be like, okay, what's behind this?
Yeah, because we don't have to be hidden. Something like cheating is a hidden thing that makes us feel like what we desire has to be, once again, hidden. When we start knowing that we don't have to be ashamed of our desires, that there's a need trying to be met, like you're kind of describing, Chrissy, it's a more exciting way to say, what are my needs, and what's being met, what's not being met, and having that conversation with your partner or yourself. If you don't have a partner, always having it with yourself anyway, but deciding, you know, okay, there's a need here that's not being met. And then deciding, what do I want to do about it? Well, maybe expressing that for a month is the first step, right? But just giving yourself the right, suppose you were having that urge, or I'm not saying you, but suppose someone's having an urge to cheat or like quit their job or move suddenly, you know, first you can go into, like you're saying, like flip the rock over, what's going on, what moves do I want to make, without having to make them so abruptly that they would create major waves that would hurt the people around you and also yourself in those reverberations that come back to you. So I think learning yourself while also learning how you want to navigate so it can be compassionate for you and others is the way, while being yourself boldly.
Yeah. And if somebody is listening to you and interested in, maybe they want to work with you or do a reading with you, do you offer that? Do you do little private sessions?
Yeah, absolutely. My email is kwolff, WOLFF 27@gmail.com. You can just email me. I give healings/readings. Yeah.
Awesome. And where else can people find you, follow you, support you, other than what's your Twitter handle? Gosh.
Oh, the Kate Wolff on
The
Twitter
Kate Wolff.
and Instagram. Yeah, my podcast Invasion of Privacy is on iTunes, Spotify, Apple, Stitcher. I'm going to have Chrissie on soon. We will have Chrissie on soon. You'll get to meet me. And then I'm on TikTok, Kate Fanchon Wolff. And thank you so much for having me on.
Thanks for doing it, Kate. It was so good to talk with you, and I can't wait to see you soon.
Yes. Yeah, that would be awesome.